All right, so we got the Z400 or KFX 400. That's what this is, off of a KFX 400 carburetor for the Warrior. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it off, check the jets, see what jets are in it. They can vary, obviously depends on where you're from. So I'm not sure how we're going to jet this, where exactly we're going to be, but we will see. We will soon find out. So let's jump into this. All right, so we're going to put the carb to the side. It definitely needs a good cleaning on the outside. Now this is, if I'm not mistaken, the vacuum line. This line will have to be plugged. I want to see if I can, that's really tight. Take this off. I might have a plug that we can put on this, but that's one thing we got to do on this carburetor is plug this. So let's look at the jets, see what we have here. This one is a 60 22.5. And what's this guy right here? Oh, you can see, I think it's a 137.5. And we're here in Pennsylvania, just outside Pittsburgh. So, yeah, I'll mess with that later. But that might be okay. I think these things came with like a 150 in them, so it's actually a little more lean. Let me see if I get this thing. Let's see if this needle's adjustable or not. There we go. Oh, little spring in there. There we go. No, I don't see any adjustment on this thing. No. Okay. Well, what I would say, since we have the motor, you know, it's got the bigger piston in it. It's got the bigger piston. It's got a cam in it. What I say is we'll leave it the way it is. We'll clean it up real good. We'll throw it on the quad and see where we're at. Put a new plug in it and then go off the plug and see. I know this gasket seems very, very hard, so we might have to get a new gasket for it too. But other than that, we'll clean it all up. It doesn't look too bad. We'll just see if these jets are, I mean, I can see through them from up here. So we'll clean them just to be on the safe side, but it actually looks pretty good. All right, so we got the carb all cleaned up. All the jets are nice and clean as well. So we're gonna put us all back together. One thing I did get was got the choke plunger, the manual choke. I'll show you that here shortly too. But what you want to do is when you're cleaning this all up, make sure you can get either carb clean or get what I like doing is getting carb clean through it, clean it up real good that way, and then let me get this thing on there. There we go. And then getting the compressed air and making sure all the passages are clear before you put it all together. Everything's nice and cleaned up. Passages are clear. Whoop. Check. Little needle here. Make sure it's nice and clean. There's no imperfections here, because if that's off, you shouldn't really have to adjust the height of it. But if it's off, it'll either stick with the gas open or it won't let gas in. Now, here you want to look on this guy. This thing has definitely seen better days, but I don't see any rips or anything in it. So I think we're going to be okay with using it. Make sure that this is the The needle's all clean. Good to go here. I'm going to line that up. Here, see if I can do it in the camera. Line it up, make sure it goes down in. And make sure this is seated all the way around. There's no pinch points. And then this spring, you can either leave it in there or just kind of put it like this. That way. There we go, should be good. Okay, so now we have the choke, which you can buy these. You can buy these online for a couple bucks. I think this was like $15, so a little more than a couple bucks, I guess. But this is going to make it, instead of having the choke up on the handlebars, it'll make it so you can manually pull the choke right here. Just have that screw in. There you go. You can tighten that down with a wrench after you're done. But that's it. And then we'll put the throttle cable on. We do need to plug this guy. I forgot. I thought I had a little cap I could put on it to plug it, but I don't. So I need to get something for that. All right, guys. So we got back to the shop here, and we want to do a little comparison on the two carburetors. This is the Z400, KFX 400 carburetor, and this is the 350 Warrior carburetor that came off this 87. All right, so the main thing is the simplicity of these carburetors. They're very easy to work on. These things can kind of be more of a pain in the butt. And just grabbing them, I don't have anything to weigh in, but it feels like this one's just a little bit lighter. And when we're racing, obviously, you want to be a little lighter. This one has to bolt up to the head. This one, you have to use the Raptor 350 intake boot to clamp it on. They now both have, on the same side, the pull choke, manual pull choke. This is aftermarket for this carburetor. And where's the idle? So the idle screw is on this side, which isn't really much of a pain when it sits in there. It's easy to get to. This one's underneath the carburetor, also very easy to get to. Now we're going to check and see the size difference. We're going to turn this on. Make sure it's zeroed. Go on, Missy. There we go. We're going to get a rough estimate on the inside diameter. I'm no machinist, but we're just going to do the best we can with what we got. 37 or 35.7 millimeters on the Warrior. Now let's go for the Z400. 35.9. Again, rough estimate. Now we're going to go to the intake where the air intake would be. $54.3. Much smaller. 46.09. Again, rough estimations here. Yeah. It's a pretty big difference. You can see them here. Now, since this thing is a good bit bigger than this guy, you're also going to need, well, for us, we're going to run an air intake system off of it. You can, from what I've read, you can run the stock air boot from the air box. You just need to heat it up and play with it a little bit, and it will fit over this. But, I mean, it is a good bit different. Let me see if I can get... Let me turn this thing back on. The outside diameter. 50, whoop, hit the camera. 50.2 millimeters. That's 57.9 millimeters. So, again, pretty big difference. We're going to run an air intake on this down to a cone filter, so we don't need to worry about the air box. But let's throw this back on the quad and check it out. All right, so now the carb has been installed, throttle cable's installed, thumb throttle, everything's good to go. Now the only thing we are missing is that little cap for the vacuum line right here. So we will have to get a cap put on that. And then, of course, an air intake. But it looks pretty good. And that really is, from my knowledge, the installation of a Z400 carb on a 350 Warrior. Again, when it comes down to it, we still need to do some tuning, but that's pretty easy. I think we'll be able to get this carburetor, we'll loosen it up, and then we can twist the carburetor and get the jets from down here, so it shouldn't be too bad. But again, new spark plug, and then we can tune it, and hopefully by then we'll get an exhaust system for this thing too. But if you guys have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them in the comments section below, and subscribe, because we're still working on this bad girl. Hopefully we'll get her running here shortly. All right, guys. God bless.